A very warm welcome to one and all. I'm Xianing Zhang. On behalf of the entire Design Team 6, would like to welcome you to today's problem pitch presentation on risks and rewards in EVE. I would like to start with discussing the motive wherein we'll glance through the current status of EVE Online. Problems that hamper the growth of EVE Online, risks and rewards, and finally the proposal for reformation of EVE's glory before heading to closure. What we have now is the current status of EVE Online. On my left, we have a player count since 2008, which is showing a decrease. Also to my right, we have a graph of the risk rewards count since 2008. This helps us deduce that there is a noticeable fall in the number of players. The risk rewards count graph that we have computed shows decline due to the fall of players and interest of players over the years. And this is due to a number of problems which my teammate May would explain.
While discussing the problems, I would like to start with a quote from the keynote speech of the 2014 FanFest, which is, "The rewards for exploring the universe comes with the risk you take." But there is a fine line which distinguishes risk for an advantage or risk for adversity. While analyzing the past models of this game, we came across another massive multiplayer online game, which is Darkfall Online, which was very similar to EVE Online. Basically, in Darkfall, the experienced players used to take the post to an entry point of a new player, killing them right at the start. This reduced the number of subscriptions, leaving only some experienced players in the game. This game had a very brutal dynamics because you die if you lose everything, and the risk margin was very high. Fundamentally, this game got the dynamics wrong, leaving no ability to insulate its players from risk, and were unable to maintain the interests of the players. Finally, the official Darkfall servers were closed on November 15, 2012. So as we see, there is always a tension between taking on more risk for potentially more reward and the decisions that shape the future of any such game. The more problems associated with this phenomena is the ethicality issue. If we see to our right, where it says "Welcome to EVE," that is what exactly the emotion is of any new player which is entering into the game, or any moderate level player, because they are bashed right at the start because of this ethicality issue. Now, since EVE operates in a sandbox environment, there is no game restrictions basically to establish ethicality. A majority of the players, as I said, have quoted that there is a great degree of unfairness in the game, which we analyze from the data set. And this is in the form of suicide ganking. The basic question is, why will anyone pay for something they cannot enjoy? But if also CCP tries to implement the rules for EVE, there is a possibility that they might lose the players who are supporting such unethical moves of power. So, to draw a line, CCP needs to bring a true neutrality in the game, which can help in striking a proper risk and reward balance. Another problem is there is a high degree of unfairity in the game, which is again deduced from the risk and reward phenomena. The mechanics of the game demands people to operate in communities. Again, from a lot of posts in the data set, which says people usually prefer to play games because they need to isolate themselves from the day-to-day life. And the same thing is refraining them because EVE asks its players to operate in communities. If such a single player who demands to play alone is attacked by a group of players, the risk is very high. Or if he plans to attack a group of players, the risk is very high and the reward is almost equivalent to that received by a group of players who attack a single player, which have comparatively less amount of risk. A lot of experienced players target the new entrants, causing a huge amount of frustrations amongst these new individual players. And that is what is suicide ganking. This builds up a correlation between the risk and rewards with other variables such as anger, affect, posimo and negimo, because there is a high degree of relation between these emotions, these sentiments of different kinds of players, which deal with the risks of the players and the rewards that they obtain in return. So, striking the balance is an important thing. To further expand on these problems, I would like to hand over the presentation to my teammate Aprachita, who will discuss on the risk and rewards over the years and will take you into deep insights about these problems.
Okay, so as we all can see, this is the graph of risk and reward word count over the years. We can see that there are some peaks which have a sudden downfall. For example, in 2008, Empyrean Age was released. Empyrean Age is the name of 9th expansion of EVE Online. Agents in this provide missions and objectives which alter player and corporation standing with the factions accordingly. This expansion was against the wish of CCP lead game designer Noah Warden. As such, the factional warfare system saw no bug fixes, patches or further development, which was the major reason for the sudden downfall in risk and reward. In 2011, again, CCP introduced a new feature that had been 18 months in the making, a digital store where in-game items could be purchased for real money. This was the Incarna crisis. Thousands gathered within the game and began to stage symbolic riots, firing their ships' weapons on a giant monument stationed outside a major trading hub. EVE's creators have learned that the future of their world depends not only on the happiness of the game players, but also their feelings that the player ultimately own the world which they inhabit. These feelings have a direct impact on the risk and reward variable. Therefore, having a close analysis of the sentiments with respect to risk and reward is very essential. And certainly, in these scenarios, there was a huge imbalance between them, which proved to be devastating for EVE. Seeing the current state of EVE Online, we have to be very careful with the future decisions, as the steps taken without proper analysis can have adverse effects. Therefore, risk and reward need to be analyzed appropriately and effectively. CCP needs to identify the triggers that disrupt the risk and reward balance, which will help them to formulate measures and construct the further release accordingly. We will be conducting a thorough and robust investigation on the risk and reward variables, which will facilitate better understanding of players' sentiments and their requirements also. Talking about the current scenario, as we have discussed, majority of the players are ethically wrong, but imposing rules on players who are the constructor of the game dynamics can have adverse effects also. Therefore, we need to strike a perfect balance between attracting disappointed re-entrants and also preventing old players from quitting.
And I'm going to talk about why the CCP should choose us. And I think the challenge for CCP to find the perfect balance between risk and reward is very difficult. Since every time a version is updated, the company CCP will spend a lot of time to monitoring and collecting the feedback from the player, and because they want to know the player's idea and what is their reply, and then making the change to cater to the player. But I think use our analysis of the factors which may refer to the risk and reward. I think we can help the CCP to find the balance more quickly. And here is some strategies to approach our goals. The first one is that we can analyze the history expansion version and compare it with the past events such as T20 and Encana crisis and so on to identify the factors that may affect the risk and reward. Then we are studying the relation between different variables of risk and reward. For example, satisfaction. This can help us understand the satisfaction of players and help CCP to improve the game in the following releases version. And the third one is that we will identify the influential players. For example, we may find which username may be more active in 2009 related to risk and reward. And the following is the reference we used, and the presentation is over. Any questions?